It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
12:02 on a game day. Thank you very much for being here. If you're watching live on YouTube or on TuneIn or on our own player at edmontonsportstalk.com, thank you very much for joining us. It is game day, Oilers and the Dallas Stars tonight. We will get into that. And, you can hit us up. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, or, of course, in the Nasty Chat where Gus says, hi, guys. I wonder if the same guy used to text into the old station to say, hi, guys, it's Gus. And then it would go comment and go, it's Gus. He always, duplicated himself. Cass, what's up, buddy? You at home today?
I am at home today. I living with the little disease-carrying cesspools at school that I do. They brought home something. I thought I avoided it. I did not. So I've been hit pretty hard yesterday, and today is not as bad. I got an okay sleep last night, but still in recovery mode. So if my voice gives out halfway through this, guys, I blame my kids.
I know. Just pretend you muted yourself again. Right? You got the ultimate built-in excuse. I think that's the best way to go about it. Gager and I got. First of all, Gager, were you having a coffee there? What is that? Coffee?
Oh, just a little Slytherin juice.
A Slytherin juice.
Yeah.
I had some Slytherin juice earlier today too, and feeling pretty good today. Yeah, that's good. Cass, we got a bone to pick with you, buddy. So Gager actually had watched episode 4, but he thought it was just an extended version of episode 3 of Loki. We can't believe, now that we can talk about it, we can't believe you don't like this show.
I didn't say I don't love it. Like, it's okay. It's not like I don't hate it, but I'm just like it's okay. I feel like, again, Loki is just not typical Loki. I felt it's kind of been convoluted, and I feel like even after that episode, so spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1, when Kane gets shredded, I'm just like, well, that feels like, yeah, it was a huge twist, but that feels like a big letdown. Like, I mean, I totally saw it going the way of like, oh, like this is where he gets all his powers and they start all this off, and it could be like a great step into the universe, and I'm just like, oh, well, that, kind of feels like a complete waste of his character, and who knows what they're even going to do with it now. So I don't know, guys. Like, I felt at times it's been confusing, at times it's been convoluted, and I feel like I haven't seen a thorough, like, this is the objective, this is the direction, this is the story, and I don't know. Again, like, it hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been good to me. So disagree with me if you want. That's fine.
Cass, he sounds like a guy that wants it and wants it now,
Yeah, there's 2 more episodes,
so
Cass.
That huge fork in the road, Cass, that's like Dusty and I think we're on the same page going, oh my gosh, we were thinking like you, but are actually excited to see what happens next. You had all your preconceived notions of what's going to happen, and things are just not going the way you planned, and you're upset.
I did think when Victor Timely went out, I thought he was going to get sucked into all of the timelines.
Oh,
and that's how Kane became a thing. Like, that's what I was just like.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, because when he went, he goes, I have to do this. I was just like, oh, I just know that this is going to happen.
I thought he was super evil inside. He was going to get to the machine and start manipulating where he was going to become all powerful. That's what I thought. And then that's what threw me for a loop when he got turned into spaghetti.
So let's play this game. I love that we can talk about this now.
I'm sorry, it's my fault.
We'll get to the game for sure. But they now, with the way, and once again, spoiler alert, with the way the timelines basically exploded and was coming to kill them all, they have an opportunity here to basically restart the entire MCU if they wanted to. Now, I don't think they will, but Cass, how do you think the next episode starts?
I don't know. I have no idea. And that's what the part that is interesting, where I'm like, again, I see you're doing a clean slate thing here where you can do whatever you want. But I don't know. I don't know what they do. I mean, there's going to be, Loki's not dead, right? He's obviously not. He's still going to come around back. And I mean, I'm interested to see what they do with it, but I don't know. And that's, again, to go to my confusion part, and maybe they'll clear it up, and maybe by the end I'll be like, oh, the last 2 episodes were great. This was amazing. But thus far, I don't know. I don't have high expectations.
I think I'm
going to be disappointed.
I think I'm going to be watching these with you in mind and even love them more. I'll be like, okay, Cass, I love this. I'm going to be angry the entire time.
You know what, Dusty? What we should do, because you do have the capability on Disney Plus to have a watch party. And we should just all watch it at the same time.
So how does that work? Then we can talk to each other while we watch it? Or do you just, is it basically just I text you and be like, hit start now?
I will research this.
Okay, yeah, research it. I would love to do that because I don't know. What do you think happens at the beginning of the next episode?
I think you see Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark driving his Audi somewhere.
I would shit my pants if that happens. Like, can you imagine if that happens? Like, but you could.
Yeah.
You could do that. Cass froze.
He's
stunned. No, he's just sitting there very quiet. Cass, you were like a statue. I could see what I think, and Corey and Mark, I think, mentioned this on the MCTV podcast, which you can listen to right here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com and on TuneIn. They could start with Mobius on a skidoo in the water. And, like, basically what happened was everybody got pushed back to the main timeline. And then it's like they're going around kind of in Lost. Did you watch Lost?
Yeah.
Remember, like, they didn't know each other. They were back in the time. I could see them kind of doing that maybe. And then all of a sudden, they all get together and it clicks. The TVA was a thing. And I don't know. I think it's been a really good show. It's been my favorite show that I've seen in quite some time from a Marvel perspective. So.
Yeah, this is my favorite aside from Andor. This is my second favorite.
Tube Socks is in. It says, okay, I thought you were talking about Evander Kane at the beginning of this conversation. We did say
spaghetti?
Kane. Yeah. Can you believe that Kane, when he broke out, turned into spaghetti and almost got sucked up into all the timelines? That would be kind of funny, actually. 780-218-9999. Oilers do get the Dallas Stars tonight. We'll dive into some lineups and things for sure. We were just talking about in the lock shop, because in the lock shop, we're a bunch of degens, and we're trying to figure out how we can make money off this. Cass, how much do players, like when I look at the schedules and I go, the Oilers have 3 days rest coming into this thing. Dallas is playing back-to-backs and 3 and 4. How much of a significant advantage is that, or do fans in the media make too much of that?
No, I think it is an advantage. And I watched the Dallas Calgary game last night, and it can, I should say, it isn't for sure an advantage. It can be an advantage because you do have fresh legs and you're going up against a team that's going to be a little bit tired. I think it bodes well for Edmonton that Dallas won yesterday in a game that at times Calgary controlled. They were the better team early on. They had a little bit of a let up and Dallas kind of took advantage of it. And then Calgary was a better team in the third, but they couldn't put one past Ottinger. And, when I look at it, I go, okay, Dallas has been playing some really good hockey. If you're the Edmonton Oilers, you can give them every excuse to not want to play the game tonight because they're tired. They just won. It's 3 and 4. And they kind of look at it and go, you know what? We've had some success here. If we lose this one, we're still going to be happy with the games that we've played and the way that we've played them. So I think it can be an advantage if you utilize it. If you bring that energy, I just think it's something that you have to take advantage of it early on in the game, because the longer that you let a team hang around, even if they're tired, the more they're going to feel they have a chance to win and the more output they're going to be able to have. So for Edmonton, I kind of feel like the start tonight against the Dallas team that had to travel, albeit it's not like a long travel. It's not like they've traveled for hours and hours. They had good sleeps last night for sure. But you have every opportunity, I think, at the start of the hockey game to really take it to them and take control of the game early. I mean, if you score 2 goals early, you could force a team into a situation where they're just kind of like, that's enough.
Great start to the year, solid trip,
right.
Whatever.
Yep. Yeah, I don't want to tell you how to do your job, Cass, but I think that's one of your game changers for tonight is create the doubt. It's early in the season, though. Like I think you would see
create.
But I completely understand what you're saying because those types of situations rear their head throughout the year. But I think it's early enough in the schedule that I think you're going to see a pretty motivated Dallas Stars team. This is a huge test for the Oilers.
Yes, it is.
To me, this is the first, with the way things have gone up to this point, and coming off the big motivational lift that they got from the outdoor game. Now they're going up against a team that most likely, if things go well, there's a good chance you're going to see them at some point in the playoffs, and they are stacked with depth. This is going to be a telltale sign for me for how the Oilers season is going to go from this point forward. If they don't come out with the type of effort that if they can't match the intensity and the execution of the Dallas Stars tonight, I am extremely worried if I'm an Oilers fan, because things are lining up for you to have a great performance tonight. But saying that, you're going against an experienced, deep lineup. A lot of questions are going to be answered tonight, or they're going to be asked at the end of the game.
I agree with you. I think this is a big one. I think the spot line's up for it. They're coming off. They've won 2 games this year. The last time they pumped in 6 against Nashville. Campbell still had to be very good in that game. And then we're like, okay, they're back, baby. Like, look at this offense. And they always spank Nashville, so that was really nothing new. And then what happened? They came out and dropped a nothing burger against the Philadelphia Flyers and had a chance to get something going in the third period and just looked like they didn't even want to be there. So anything that they got coming out of Calgary where they looked more aggressive defensively, and overall I just thought they were more into that game than maybe any game they'd been into the entire year. Guys, if they don't follow up on that tonight, tomorrow morning and tomorrow here in Edmonton Sports Talk, people are going to be in a full-blown panic mode. And to be honest with you, that's justified at that point.
Oh, fully. I mean, my hand was touching the panic button before the Calgary game, and it maybe moved off it a little bit, but it's still right there because that's one game. And it's like, oh yeah, there was lots of good things. They were more aggressive and hounded pucks, which is something they haven't really done yet this season, against the Calgary team that hasn't been very good this year. Now, again, watching that game last night, Calgary, for the most part, or for good parts of that game, kind of played that same style where they were a little bit more aggressive. They hounded pucks. They were in on the forecheck, forced turnovers, and generated lots of opportunities because of it. But Dallas is good enough that you give them just that inch, and they push back, which is what happened. They scored a couple goals, and then all of a sudden, Calgary was down and wasn't able to recover. And for the Edmonton Oilers here, I think if you come out, and for fans and us in the media, if they come out after a couple days off playing against a team that's playing back-to-back and they drop another nothing burger, I mean, we're right back to freaking out. Now, if they come out and they have a really good effort and they play a solid 60 minutes, well then, the hand slowly starts to move away from that panic button. You're like, okay, well, here we go. We can actually string together a couple of games. But for now, they haven't strung together 2 good games in a row. So the first step was stringing together 60 minutes, which they, for the most part, did against Calgary. Now you got to do it again. And doing it against a team that's one of the better teams in the Western Conference.
When you're right about the Dallas Stars, I mean, being one of the better teams in the Western Conference, I think that's something you're going to see. If you look at the Dallas Stars right now, and they don't have McDavid and Draisaitl, but they got Rupe Hintz and Jason Robertson. Their third line is undeniably more significant than anything the Oilers could put together in that spot. And they actually have a fourth line that I think you could be comfortable rolling out there for 8 to 10 to 12 minutes a night as well, Gage. So this is a really interesting dynamic tonight where I know the Oilers are trying to get something going in their bottom 6, but this is almost 2 lines versus 4 lines tonight, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, like it's for young coaches watching this, looking at line matchups and how Woodcroft's going to negotiate having to go up against such a deep lineup where, I mean, there's going to be times where I wouldn't, looking at the lineups, I have no problems playing that third line against McDavid and Draisaitl with the experience that I have. You could see that tonight and not be scared on the bench. So,
and you would never say you're comfortable putting McLeod and Holloway out against Rupe Hintz and Jason Robertson.
No, you're looking for the change at that point. You brought up a good point, Dusty. I want to see what McLeod brings tonight because it's been very pedestrian up to this point, if pedestrian's the right word. He hasn't shown anything on the physical side, on the offensive production side, even just on the defensive, just not being hard enough to play against. When I look at that third line from the Dallas Stars, that's difficult. That's you're going out there and knowing that you're going to have to play physical, be defensively responsible, because that's a really tough line to play. That they're good. This is my focus tonight. My ISO cam tonight, Dusty, is going to be on Ryan McLeod.
Yeah. What about you, Cass? What's your ISO? You're going to be good enough to do pre and post tonight? Like you're feeling
No,
well enough?
I'll
Okay.
make it work.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
I'll make it work. We'll get raspy, gravelly Cass, but I'll be good.
Just make Tommy do his Rocky Balboa impression from our draft yesterday. And nobody will care about your voice. What would your ISO cam be on tonight for the Oilers?
For the Oilers, McLeod would be an interesting one. Connor Brown.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yep, I'd go Connor Brown.
There's been some moments there, right? Like
there's been some moments, but I want to see continued progression. I want to see continued improvement, and I want to see him start putting in some points, assists or goals or whatever, chip in offensively here. So I probably would have it Connor Brown still would be for me. McLeod's a pretty close second. Gage, I like that one too.
Richard with an interesting question, and I think I know the answer here. But we have been critical of him, and he has only played 140 games. Gager, do you think McLeod would clear waivers at this time? I don't think he'd clear waivers. I think somebody would claim him.
I would have to do an in-depth research
of like all the other rosters,
teams and see where their cap space.
I do
and
think
stuff.
there'd be somebody to claim him.
I'm pretty sure someone would grab him just because of the potential, because we've seen it. But again, saying that, and I do give him a little bit of rope because of missing training camp. We saw how Ekholm's finally starting getting up to speed too. So you have to give him a little bit, but I think now's the time, with the amount of time you've had in between games, the amount of games you've played, it lines up for him to be successful tonight. And let's face it, if the Oilers want to be successful against a Dallas Stars team that's coming off a back-to-back, he's going to have to be a piece of the puzzle.
Sam Gagner gets the call. Ernie waived, sent down. Sam Gagner called up, gets a 1-year deal, $775,000. I don't even want to talk about what our expectations for Sam would be, but I do want to talk about, Cass, what do the Oilers need from Sam Gagner?
I think you need a veteran voice in that locker room, of a guy that's been around a long time. That's what you need from him. I don't think you need incredible things on the ice. Consistent play on the ice and a consistent voice inside the locker room of a guy that's been around and has seen a lot. To me, that's it. Is you're just bringing in a little bit more maturity there, and a guy that is going to know his role. He's not going to try to do too much. Maybe can contribute and chip in, but you just want him to be consistent, and you want him to be consistent in the dressing room. I think that's what you're hoping for from Sam Gagner.
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
And I know because I did his cable install years ago, and he had a Swiss jersey laying on the floor, so he's no stranger to that. I think he needs to be a player that you can plug and play in different parts of the lineup and provide that stabling influence in your bottom six, right? I think that's what they brought him here to do.
I want to see it because he can be greasy at times, right? Like Sam Gagner digs hard for pucks and can aggravate a few pieces. Yeah, exactly. Extremely competitive. I want to see a little bit of that rub off on Ryan McLeod.
Yeah.
Like if Ryan McLeod had an ounce of what Sam Gagner could bring to the table at that level, like just it's not like Sam Gagner is the greasiest player of all time. He's not in that category. He's not in the conversation, but there's a little bit of grease in his game. And Cass, there's no grease in McLeod's game at all whatsoever. Like you cannot start a fire of any type with the grease that his game provides, right? So I don't know, maybe you know, if they're operating, you know, as a sort of a little bit of a bottom six unit, Gagner and to a lesser extent like a Connor Brown and then a Derek Ryan can help Holloway and McLeod sort of guide them a little bit, and maybe you get something positive out of this.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hopes, and that's where I speak about, you know, dressing room consistency or increasing your capacity as a team to have some of those veteran guys around. That is something he could do. It could be, hey, hang out with Gags, talk to him about his game, talk to him about what's made him successful, talk to him about things that you could adapt into your game that he does that could help you have success at the NHL level, absolutely could be something. And that's part of why you want some veteran guys around. Even if they're not the big contributors on your team, you can bring them in to help with situations like Ryan McLeod's, where you have a young guy that is still quite fresh that you're wanting more out of, for sure. I mean, it's just like why you brought in Strutty back in the day, Edmonton Oilers, right? It's that same idea.
Provide the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Provide the same thing. Who would you see? This is a fun question. We got Jay Milne around here, a glue guy on the draft yesterday. Who was the best glue guy in a room that you ever played with, Gager?
Oh gosh, there's too many. You know what? But I'll say it just because of last week. Doug Waite, for him being a superstar, he was a glue guy,
really,
as well. There was one point when Alexander Zoltov.
Sergei Zoltov?
Sergei Zoltov.
He was a hack for a bit.
Yeah, and Anson Carter, I think, got into it in the dressing room.
Okay.
And Zoltov kind of was poopy pants over something, and Dougie jumped up and started yelling at everyone and pointing to, and even looked at me. I didn't even know where my glove and blocker were at this point. But he was like, "That doesn't effing happen in our room ever again." And
really?
Yeah, I was like, "Oh God, no, it doesn't." And so he was, for all greatness he had, he was a glue guy that kept everyone together. It doesn't always have to be a guy that plays.
Was that a rare experience though for the best player on the team to be the glue guy?
Definitely.
Yeah.
But Aaron, we were talking about. He was talking about leadership in the room, and sometimes when you're superstars. Depending on how they act, if they don't say a lot, when they do say something, it means way more to the team because it doesn't, like I said in the hangout, it doesn't become that Charlie Brown kind of message where you get lost. So yeah, Dougie never did stuff like that, right? He was raw and get going and stuff, but for him to get mad and let everyone know that situation doesn't happen in our room anymore, you take that to heart and. Trust me, that never happened again.
Cass, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, I'll give two. One of the better glue guys would have been Andrew Brunette early on, who just I haven't met someone that played with him that didn't absolutely love him. Like he just was one of those guys, had an infectious laugh, like great laugh. Like when he laughed, his whole body laughed, and like you would hear him from 3 rooms over is one of those type of laughs. But just was always making fun of everybody. But in a way, it's like, it was great because he always made fun of everybody. Like, and he was a guy that, he would dish it out, but you could also dish it right back to him, and he would just laugh, like infectious type of personality. So he was a fantastic glue guy. Other one, kind of going to the similar vein as you, Gager, would have been Daniel Alfredson.
Yeah.
Where Alfie, although was one of the better players and Hall of Fame guy, he was still a glue guy, and I think he understood from a leadership perspective his ability to pull guys together, and especially with young European guys like the younger Swedes in particular. That we had a bunch of them. I mean, I don't think Mika Zibanejad is the player he is today without Daniel Alfredson in the room. And we missed that so much the next year when he was gone. I mean, it was just a mess. I mean, it's just, we didn't have the glue anymore in a lot of ways. And inside the dressing room, I think we fell apart a whole bunch because he wasn't there anymore. To me, those would be two examples. One on that, I mean, Bruno was a great player too, but just kind of what you would define as a glue guy in terms of personality. And then Alfie, just from a leadership standpoint, where he was the glue. Then he was a driver in that dressing room in a lot of ways and on ice in a lot of ways. But those would kind of be the two guys that stand out in my mind.
You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, or hit us up in the Nasty Chat. I like Chris in the Nasty Chat saying, is there anyone from Coolbet in here? We need an anytime goal line for Sam Gagner. I don't know if the Coolbet boys basically been watching all day. I might be having an afternoon nap right now. This one is in and says, over or under 7.5 points for Sam Gagner tonight as he returns to the lineup. I was at that game. And, so I watched the highlights. He had nothing in the first period.
Yeah.
He had nothing in the first period. Everything came in the final 2 periods. And I remember going back and forth down that old press box at the old barn way up top there. And we're like, Gagner's got 6 points. Gagner's got 7 points. Oh, my God, Sam Gagner's got 8 points. Do you remember watching that game? Or?
Yeah. It's funny because when you always play with a certain guy that just has one of those nights, and you don't realize it until you hear the announcer say his name all these times. You go, wait, we've been hearing that. Like, that's 5 times already that he's in on these goals. I wasn't at that game, but what a tremendous atmosphere that you see in the crowd when he's scoring. And I love it when everyone starts looking for him, too.
They knew.
They knew that he's getting close to records and stuff, and everyone's passing up open nets to give it to Sam at that point. Great guy. Hey, you know what? I'll settle for 3.9.
The whole place went at this point in their bottom 6. They'll settle for 1 point. Like if he gets 1 point tonight, all of a sudden he's leading the bottom 6. The entire place, I would only describe it as like delirium. Like everybody was just delirious. Like people were just going like this. They weren't even cheering anymore. It was insane. Cass, you would have been playing still then at the time. Did that get some buzz around the NHL?
Yeah. Well, I mean, anytime someone puts up 8, you're gonna like. Doesn't happen very often, so you're going to be paying attention. Just kind of going, holy smokes, Gags! Like, save some for me.
Pretty much, you're right. Nielson, Cass, and Gage are with you here on Two Guys and a Goalie, setting up the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Stars. If you have any text message thoughts, you can chime in the Paris Jewelers inbox at 780-218-9999, or hit us up in the nasty chat as well. Stuart Skinner gets the net again tonight. Gager, that look alone is meaning that my question is a valid one. What do you think about staying away from Jack Campbell for now?
It's troubling to me.
It is, eh?
Yeah, and this is the reason why. It's a coach that is desperate for wins, and I understand that. But I still think that either goalie right now gives you a good opportunity to win. Jack Campbell in his last start was tremendous. It wasn't anything on his part that was the reason for the loss. There was 1 goal in there, but other than that, he was the only reason you were in that game to begin with. Very solid effort from Stuart Skinner in the outdoor game. We got that game, got the win. But I think this is a missed opportunity to where you're going to need both these guys operating at a high level throughout. And let's face it, Dusty, the only bright spot for the Oilers this whole season, when's the last time we could say, has been their goaltending. They've both been better than they've been the only reason they've been in games. So I wonder why the question was made, and maybe he's gotten already into that situation where, look, you win and you're in. And
but Skinner lost 2 games ago and then got the start in the Heritage Classic, which could be Edmonton guy. I mean, I get it. Give him the spot there.
I get why. I had no problems with him playing the.
But Skinner was awesome against the Rangers. I mean, he should have been even worse in that game, right? So
yeah, and he was good in that game too. But
it'll be 11 days between Jack Campbell's starts when he rolls out again. I would assume they start him against Nashville on Saturday afternoon.
Someone give Dobby a sock, because that's a Harry Potter reference. So I don't know if
it's a what reference?
It's Harry Potter. He was Dobby for Halloween.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah,
give him an article
of the scary dude.
Give him an article of clothing, and he becomes his own guy. So someone give Jack Campbell a article of clothing, and maybe things will clear up for him.
Cass, what do you think of staying away from one of these guys for a 10, 11-day stretch early in the year?
Winning you're in. Whatever. I mean, if Jack Campbell can't get over this mentally, then what's he doing anyway? So
yeah,
I'm sorry, Gager, but I'm fine with Stuart going back.
It's just not winning you're in, because Skinner lost 2 games ago and then started again, right? So it's not technically a winning you're in. It's but play well and you're in maybe. But then Campbell, I thought, played okay against Minnesota. They were a train wreck.
I don't like it.
Yeah. We'll see. Are you a huge Harry Potter guy?
This is a Slytherin mug.
Oh, yeah, it is a Slytherin mug. So you are a huge Harry Potter guy. My wife read all the books and watched all the movies, and I've seen all the movies like once.
I've read all the books twice.
You've read all of the books twice?
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Real book nut, huh?
Yeah.
I read them all once.
You read them
I've
once?
watched the movies. My wife loves the books and the movies.
I was going to say, are your girls into Harry Potter yet? Or?
Not yet. No, not yet.
I really don't want Marshall to leave Star Wars for Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I don't know. Everyone kept telling me, because my sister-in-law loves the Harry Potter books too. And I had a lot of people in my life who were like, oh, they're so good. And they get better because they start writing for an older audience as you get more and more into this series. And I don't know.
They do.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
That's where I was just like,
It's just like Twilight.
No, there's too many. My issue with the Harry Potters was there was like, every book, most books, most movies have big plot holes to them. And I get that. But the ones that are done well, typically you don't realize they're plot holes till you actually have to sit and like really think about it. Like you shouldn't be like, oh, that's a massive plot hole right when everything happens. And I felt with like Harry Potter, I'm like, there's massive plot holes all over the place that I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it.
You only read the books once. He read them twice.
Yeah,
Plot
once
holes.
was all I had to, because I'm like, there's way too many plot holes.
The most successful book series probably of all time, and you're saying they're plot holes?
Yeah. There's massive plot holes. I'm like,
This is coming for a guy that doesn't like Loki.
I was going to say, you also don't like Loki season 2, so you're killing us here, Cass. You're killing us. We'll get to a few things around the National Hockey League. Did want to throw this out. So the NHL has strongly recommended that some guys start wearing neck guards. Winnipeg Jets had them on in practice yesterday, according to Winnipeg Sports Talk. The Western Hockey League announced yesterday that effective tomorrow, mandatory neck guard protection for players. Cass, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the week on how, and I think you kind of brought it up, Maddie brought it up on our show, this could possibly be grandfathered in at some point, and me seeing them go to the Western League and say mandatory, all of you, I mean, that's kind of where the grandfathering would begin, wouldn't it?
Yep. I mean, that's where it begins is, no, you have to wear it as a junior player. You're wearing this. And then when you transition to pro player, you're also going to start wearing this. It's just kind of, again, I think if you're going that direction, that's how they're going to do it. They'll grandfather it in. I don't think they'll make current pro players. They will probably have a choice, but just like visors for NHL players, it'll probably get grandfathered in. It wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, we still will have to wait and see, because the NHL has some time. I can't remember when their next meeting is. The board, like the GM's meeting.
Yeah, they have a few of them, right? There's usually one in the winter time, and then well, that'll certainly be on the agenda. I would think that would be on the agenda for sure.
I've started a company called Neck Protect, and I'm going to give Connor McDavid free financial advice, so he's going to be wearing it, and then everyone will fall into place.
Part of me is wondering if you're joking or not, because Neck Protect has a nice ring to it.
Hey?
I thought it was one of your spin-offs from Net Protect,
that didn't
which
work.
is your local goaltending school that failed miserably and nobody signed up for. Speaking of failing miserably, Pierre Dorion was fired by the Ottawa Senators as we look at smooth transitions here today. And I think this was always going to be the way. Yeah. Like, you get a new owner come in. Steve Staios rolls in there as well. So it was always going to be a fresh start in Ottawa. But, boy, did they have an out when Ottawa had a first-round pick taken away from them because they didn't tell the team that they traded Dodonov to that he had a 10-team no-trade list. Like, that's just being inept at your job. You probably should have been fired on the spot when that happened, right? Like,
it's absolutely ridiculous when you kind of dive into the whole story and how he lasted this long afterwards. And look, the Ottawa Senators are at a place where they're a young team. They signed basically their core over the next for the foreseeable future. Get everyone in there that's new. I don't have a problem with it. I felt bad for I'm glad in a way, because Steve Staios is such a good guy, and he's going to get his shot now, right? And see what he can do with that team that's going to be quite competitive over the next few years. So, nice to have that little bit of an out to get Dorion out of there.
Cass, been a tough little while here for the Ottawa Senators. And Pinto gets suspended for 41 games. You get hit with the first-round pick being taken away over one of the 3 years coming up. Then you use that. Their owner was very blunt about everything yesterday. Although as Jamie McLennan said on our show today, it was like, I was not aware of this. And I kind of feel like if you're going to buy a National Hockey League team, you uncover all of the skeletons, or unless the Sens previous ownership group was like, don't tell them about the first rounder that we're probably going to
Well, that's kind of what he's insinuating happened, isn't it? Isn't he going to the NHL now and saying, you didn't tell me about any of this when I was buying the team? Because
he should. He should go and complain about that, right? Like,
you didn't. You gave them a penalty, lose a first round draft pick for not disclosing something in a trade. What are you going to do because you didn't disclose something to me when I freaking bought the team?
They should give the first rounder back because they too are guilty of the same thing. Yeah.
What a mess.
Now with that, like we say, what a mess. And I agree. I mean, it's an embarrassing look, but they do have fresh ownership who seems to be very passionate about this opportunity. They have brought Steve Staios out there to basically run things, and everybody seems to really like him. Now, they're buddy-buddy, so, maybe Staios is the man. Maybe he's a friend of the man. Who knows? But they also have Timmy Stützle, and they have Tkachuk, and they have Norris, and they have Sanderson, and they've got a really nice group of players there. So, Cass, would you describe, like, one word to describe the Ottawa Senators right now? Is it mess, or is it something else?
Potential still to me. I mean, I still look at this group and look at this team, and I think this is a group that has tremendous potential. Now I'm not opposed to Dorian being fired at all. He probably could have been canned a couple years ago. And I think we all knew at some point with the new ownership group, it probably was going to be the case that he was going to go. Now it was when and in what fashion, and it maybe happened a season earlier than we had thought. But yeah, I still look at this group and I go, they just have so many good young pieces that I just see an immense amount of potential in this group. So losing a first draft pick aside, like this is a team, guys, that I think in a year or two, they're going to be a really, really good team. They have a lot of really nice pieces up front. They have a lot of really nice pieces on the back end. They have the construction and the makings of a team that just has a tremendous amount of potential. So maybe some people would look at it and say it's a mess. But you have a new owner that's coming in to clean up the mess. And I think it gets clean, and I think they're a group that is going to be a very good team in a couple of years.
If they were an absolute tire fire right now, I'd be more concerned. But look, the way they're set up, they shouldn't have a top pick. This team should be definitely a playoff team. And if wherever their pick landed, it would be tough for that player to make that team in whatever position, right? So it's not terrible. You always want your first round picks, obviously, but I think the Senators are in a good enough position where that would be kind of stocking the cupboards anyway.
I think my word for it would be I might have to explain this a little bit, but to me it's can the word count as not a word? Like I feel like they're on like a detour right now.
Yeah.
Like they're on the right road and things seem to be going pretty well. And then, we got to turn right here because of the Pinto suspension. We got to go over here right now. And, okay, now we're going to come back around to the main road. We need to hit with a first rounder and ownership. And I feel like eventually they get back on that main road and continue to plow ahead. But the three teams that we talked about prior to the season, Ottawa, Buffalo, and Detroit, as these teams that are sort of trying to bust into that playoff scene out in the East. Buffalo didn't start great, has been playing better as of late. Detroit started extremely well this year. And then you've got Ottawa, who's certainly had some moments as well. Cass, if you were, it might be a unanimous pick, but maybe not. If somebody came to you and said, hey, I just bought, or I have enough money, I'm going to buy the Red Wings, I'm going to buy the Senators, or I'm going to buy the Buffalo Sabres, based on their roster strength right now and their future, which one do you want to GM?
Ooh, probably still Buffalo. Probably Buffalo. Again, you're looking depending. Like, there's a lot of other factors that I think you'd look at, but when I look at that Buffalo group, like they are pretty stacked with young players up front, and they have now locked in 2 all-star caliber, Norris caliber defensemen. And to me, I just look at their group and I go, this. The Senators will get there. I think Detroit's a little bit further back from an overall. Now they got, some great young players too. I think they'll be pretty good in a couple of years, but I think they're a little further off. When I look at like who's the closest, I think Buffalo is. Now Sens aren't that far behind. But to me, when I look at that Buffalo group, like in Tage Thompson and man, yeah, I can't get away from their defensive core.
It's the D-man, right? You can build a franchise around Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power, right?
And Owen Power, absolutely.
What about you, Gager?
Well, I guess I'm Cass's director of player personnel because he's already GM.
He's already the GM.
I would rather be involved with that Buffalo organization with what Cass just mentioned, those personnel. Ottawa's second, obviously. I think Detroit is one of those teams where, yes, they're better and they're playing well, but I think you're going to see them start falling off as teams don't give them the benefit of the doubt, realize it's going to be a little bit tougher of a night than last year, and we'll see them fade away. It's tough.
I'm torn. Like, I am very intrigued by Ottawa still.
Yeah.
And, Detroit has that. They have Mo Seider, and Mo Seider's that franchise defenseman you can build around. They've drafted pretty well. Like, there's some guys coming there. But you're sitting there, and Ottawa does have Jake Sanderson, who looks like he could possibly be a stud. And I would take Ottawa's forward group with Stützle and Tkachuk and Norris and Ridley Gregg, who's a young guy who's kind of going to be coming along a little bit. Drake Batherson signed there long term. Nothing against Tage Thompson. He's absolutely phenomenal. I just think there's some high-end upside with 4 or 5 of these guys. And then you mix in Sanderson on the back end. I could be convinced to go with Ottawa instead. But they're both they're all 3 of them are on track, I think.
I think Buffalo's a little bit more established. That's all. I think they're better out of all those teams. If you're gonna ask me which of those teams is going to make the playoffs, if I had to pick, I would say Buffalo ahead of everyone else.
Penner's Pancakes in the Nasty Chat says Buffalo, Ottawa, and then Detroit. And Gord is asking, should the Oilers hire Dorian? Look at their scouting and draft picks. He may not be a manager, but he clearly has an eye for talent. Not right now. I mean,
I could see it in the offseason. Well, yeah, you wouldn't hire him now. But
I would assume he'll get a job somewhere where he's not in charge of informing other teams if players have no trades or not.
Well, there's going to be a GM of the Oilers next summer, right? Like that's Collins. He's kind of, lack of a better term, is dead man walking with all the changes up top. I think we'll see a new GM with the Oilers next season. But could it be Dorian? Just read that no movement clause first. That's
Cass is shaking his head.
But I don't.
It's not Dorian.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
No.
No.
Do you think he's ever a GM anywhere again, Cass?
Nope.
No.
AGM maybe. GM no.
So you were there with him, Cass? Is that
yep.
Okay? I was going to say, I think, like you said, he probably could. I think they probably could have let him go a couple of years ago as well.
Yep. He's cut from the same cloth. He's cut from the same cloth as his predecessor in terms of his no. Would not hire him. Not a chance.
Cross him off the list.
All right.
Cross him off the list. Somebody actually, let me see here. I want to get back into one of these text messages that came in a little bit earlier on. It wasn't from Kevin, Coach Mike. It was a question about, here we are. Was this the one? Yeah, this is it. Yeah, let's get to this one. This guy also sent in a picture of Gager from his time in Sweden with his blonde hair.
He's got that.
Yeah, look at this one. It's a card.
Oh, I got those at home.
Do you got those? What do you mean you got those? You got lots of those at home?
If you can believe, Dusty, there's a lot of those left.
Well, we'll take one here in the studio.
Right.
I'll bring in the card protector and everything. We'll actually.
They're big.
Oh, they're big ones.
Oh yeah, they're huge.
Oh, so where were these? Like the cut off the back of a KD box?
No, I was the Jan Kaminer of the year. That's
Wait, say that again.
Jan Kaminer.
That's the MVP.
Yeah.
The Jan Kaminer.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
There's a.
But
I should have brought I got a trophy.
Why was it called that? It was in England, right?
Yeah. No, that's Sweden.
You were the MVP in Sweden too?
Of my team.
Oh, well, that doesn't count.
No, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that's why those cards are so big.
Because you were the MVP of the team.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Anyway, this guy says, I got a sick toddler today. Kind of like you, Cass, right? Like, I'm knocking on wood because I haven't.
Oh, you guys
got
got
the
to
school
watch
thing
it. This
yet,
this
so-
is when this, like, trust me, from a guy that's had kids for a century.
It
This
usually
is
gets us every year. but-
yeah. This is the time of year when the flu goes crazy with kids.
Well, my wife is subbing today
Oh,
in
yeah.
grade 1. And I was like, oh, cool. I can't wait to see you in the flu later today. Like, not ideal. Anyway, this guy texts in and says, this came in earlier in the show, so we're only getting to it now. But I've got a sick toddler today. It can be overwhelming, but the micro breaks that you guys provide help me. So that's kind of nice. We're going to take him away out of it. Anywho, and he actually says, anywho, is anyone concerned about the dysfunction of a Paul Coffey, Jeff Jackson, and Ken Holland dynamic within that group? It's a little bit of a unique situation where you've created a position to put somebody ahead of Ken Holland, and then by all accounts, Paul Coffey's kind of like the Daryl Cates way into the group. But for all we know, it works extremely well. Like, I don't know. I could see why the dynamic might look a little strange, though, right, Cass?
Well, it's hard to know without actually sitting there and knowing what the dynamic is exactly like. I mean, it's hard to say from the outside at this point what there is there. So, I mean, it's pretty tough to tell, I would think, unless Gager. I mean, Gager's in deep with everybody in there, so he might have some more insight.
Well, that's only because of my possession of one of the Deathly Hollows. Cass is the invisibility cloak, and I go into those rooms. I have an issue with it. I think
You do, eh?
I think there's I mean, you watch Chef, right? There's too many chefs in the kitchen.
Chef.
Or no,
Beef.
Beef.
No, the bear.
The bear.
Bear.
Sorry.
Did you watch the Bear Cast? Are there plot holes?
I haven't watched it. I know you
It's
guys
good,
told me
good.
to,
Yeah,
but I
dude,
haven't watched
you
it
would
yet.
love it. Yeah, you would.
So
I'm too busy watching Loki. Come
Come on now.
I just think there's a chain of command that's a necessity at that level, and not knowing. I mean, maybe it's fine. I'm speculating at this point, but because of the start, usually when things don't work at the higher levels, it filters down all the way through the organization. And looking at the Oilers start, and then mentioning that, I just think, well, what is going on when you kind of go a deep dive, and is there chaos that's filtering throughout the organization? No one knows where they stand, and that, I mean, I've been on hockey clubs where, yeah, there's been turmoil with the in the upper levels of the brass, and it has caused friction throughout the whole, because no one knows where their footing is. So hopefully it's not. Hopefully it is solid and everything's going well. But I don't know. You have to ask questions when you see how the Oilers started this year.
I guess this will really come to fruition on how it operates. Trade deadline for sure. Mm-hmm. If not, like if the struggles continue here, and we'll see. They've won 2 games. They look better last game. Maybe they beat Dallas tonight, and howdy-ho, everybody's happy and continues to move on. But, Cass, if a significant decision needs to be made between now and the deadline, like I don't know who has the final say on that. I guess it's Jeff Jackson, and Ken Holland is funneling options to him, and Paul Coffey is a sounding board for Jeff. Is it?
Sorry, I'll interrupt you for 2 seconds, guys. Take 2 seconds. Anyone watch Ford versus Ferrari?
I did watch Ford versus Ferrari.
So there's a great scene where Matt Damon goes into the Ford boardroom, and this file folder that goes through all these, and he explains that file folder's gone through like 8 different people, and you have all these people making decisions. Get me in charge of the car. You need one person in front and filter it down. It's a great scene of management. And if it's run like the Ford plant back then I have concerns.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope that Ken Holland still has final decision-making ability. I would hope that that's what's going on. That, you know, he probably still has to run everything by, which you typically would do. You're going to run everything by. I mean, you're not going to spend millions of dollars and do something without being like, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing. but I hope he still has autonomy to make those decisions. I mean, again, without sitting in those meetings, impossible for us to know, but I would like to think that it's still Ken Holland.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd 100% think that's how it is, though.
No, I think last year the buck stopped with him.
Yeah, exactly. There was nobody above him.
There was no one there, and now I think he has to run it through a few different people if he has to make a decision whether it gets done or not. So
this deadline's going to be very interesting.
Oh, it's fantastic.
First of all, they barely have any wiggle room anyway.
You saying Paul Coffey, there was a funny moment the other night, I got to say, because I just reminded me of it. Charlie Huddy gets inducted Wall of Fame, and it's mentioned he was plus 62.
Yeah, that one year, yeah.
So we were coming off the ice. We were on the bench and coming off the ice, and I'm right beside Struds, and Paul Coffey walks by, and Struddy, being Struddy, goes, "Hey, Coff, like, what's up? Plus 62. What were you that year?" And Coff goes, a couple expletives, going, "I was plus 21, but Charlie was always up in the play, and when I'd be taking the 2-on-1s back, and he'd be diving in the bench." And we know that wasn't true, but yeah, just Paul Coffey, a really funny, dry sense of humor. Unbelievable.
All right, you can hit us up in the Nasty Chat or at 780-218-9999. For those of you asking about the parlays we built on the Lock Shop today, they will be up in the exclusives page. Right now, we just got the 2 from the Nielsen show today, but watch for those, the Thursday Night Football one and our 3-gamer in the NHL tonight with Cool Bet. You'll be able to find those on the exclusives page. I do want to give a quick shout-out to Rod, who messaged into the Nasty Chat. Cass, I saw you replied to him. Rod says, "What up, everybody? First time finding Yeg Sports Talk. I've lived in Edmonton since 1981.
What?
Which is when I was born. So he's lived in Edmonton for 42 years. Now, with that being said, it's not like we've been around since like 99 and you somehow missed us for 23 years. We've been operating for a couple of months now. We think you'll like what you get, Rod. And if you want to hop in your vehicle and listen, just download the TuneIn app or go to edmontonsportstalk.com and listen to Player there so you can take us with you when you leave as well. Cass, what did you tell Rod? What's the one rule you told Rod?
I said first rule of EST is to disagree with everything Gager says, even if you actually agree with it.
That's okay. I explained how to get on with to Pete Peters, actually. So
What, to get on to Edmonton Sports Talk? Nice.
yeah.
Does he ever like to talk to people?
Yeah,
I feel like he'd be a fascinating conversation.
He's a complete farmer too. Like, just you shake his hand still, and it's bulldog strong.
See, I want to bring him in our show and just talk farming.
I'll get him.
That would be fun because
Yeah.
I grew up on a farm too.
Yeah.
Does he run cattle? He must run cattle.
Emus or something like that. I don't know what someone
Are you
said
making that up?
No, someone
He's
said
an emu farmer?
I think so.
What?
Yeah.
I had a buddy growing up. His dad ran ostriches.
Yeah.
He only had like 6 or 7 of them, but they ran ostriches and like sold ostrich eggs.
Him and Sparky. I was telling Sparky how to get on too, because he misses you the most. And
That makes me sad.
yeah, Sparky's dying out on his farm.
Yeah, and you know what? You can do it pretty easy. I actually I got my grandma up and running on EST.
Perfect.
So I had on her iPad. So just basically, got to be like, Graham, all you have to do is click this button because she likes to listen to the pre and post game show because she's a huge Oilers fan.
Well, did you get Sparky set up? Should I text him or what?
You should text him, but I said how you get on, and they're older gentlemen.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so
no,
they want to just be able to hit number
well,
one on their truck.
If you have TuneIn, you can do that.
And the fonts
And
on
it's
their
clear.
phones, I mean, you could see it.
Just huge.
Yeah, you can see it from the Hubble with that thing, right? So
I do like that one. Joe Belineski says EFT equals Edmonton Farm Talk, which will eventually be a spinoff once HR Daddy moves up here because he was a farmer through and through. So we could get something like that going. I also got this one came in from, I think, the North Side Sandwich, although we don't have that labeled on his number yet in the chat. The more I listen to Gager, the more I want to hang out with the man. These Potter drops are classic. North Side Sandwich. Also, audiobook Harry Potter is a game changer.
ooh, yeah, I've gotten into the audiobooks lately.
Have you?
Well, I fall asleep to them.
That's smart. If there's anything more boring than reading a book, it's listening to one at night.
Oh man, I'm actually on to some Star Wars books, so yeah, it's good. It's really good.
So which Star Wars books? Like
I
not
went
the movies,
back-
but like other Star Wars stories?
No, actual Star Wars books. The Rule of Two, the Darth Bane series. I mentioned it on the Hangout a couple weeks ago. Someone actually texted me or on Twitter saying, "Gage, that would be awesome if did like I forget his name. Sorry if I'm not mentioning your name. I'll look it up and I'll
Darth Bane. Is that like Cad Bane? Is that a spin-off Cad Bane?
No.
Oh.
Darth Bane is way before. If you've played the video games, the Old Republic, the first game, this happens a few years afterwards with Darth Bane, and he reverts it back to the rule of two: one to have the power, the other one to crave it. Much like goaltending situations. I was always in that situation.
This is a classic Darth Bane situation.
I was
That's exactly
always
what
in
it
a
is.
Darth Bane situation.
Yeah.
Ran into Cujo. He had the power. I craved it. I never got it.
Well, we could say Skinner and Campbell are in a Darth Bane situation.
Definitely.
That's the name of this show today.
And so is Lewis Hamilton and George Russell.
Yes, it is. That's right. Cass, any thoughts on F1 this weekend?
Yep. Well, I'll tell you guys after the weekend, but I'm just going to try to extend my lead here in the pool for both the first overall as well as the constructors to try to take home both championships. Because the last sprint race of the season, a lot of points on the table. Might as well get as many as I can and just sit on that nice, comfy lead.
I don't think I can. I'm sorry. I'm just still thinking about audiobooks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
You know what I found out you can just sign up for the Edmonton Public Library and sign them out.
really?
Yeah. I'll show you.
So
the
you
app.
go in and you physically sign out an audiobook?
No, just
No,
on the
you do
app
it
on your
online.
phone.
Oh, it's just on an app. Okay. I was
Yeah.
like, what, are we going in and
Yeah,
getting
no.
CDs and
Come on,
popping
Dusty.
it in a Discman? And
You only do
and
that for
listening to
video
books?
games.
Yeah, I was going to say.
30-second anti-skip on that bad boy. Yeah.
I am so lame. Like, if I'm not watching sports and I'm doing work and I spend a lot of time at night just banging out stuff, I just always put on Game of Thrones, and I just like Game of Thrones run. I've rewatched. I'm on season 7, and in the last 4 weeks, I've rewatched the entire series twice now. But I don't pay attention. But I just like I know what's happening, so I
Well-
can have it on. But I'm working on my computer. I'm doing stuff on my phone. Or
On YouTube, they have people reading the audiobooks to Game of Thrones.
Really?
Yeah, so
Well,
you
now
can
that'd
just
be interesting.
Yeah, it's great
Yeah.
because I would say the first 3 books are exactly like the
Does
series.
Cersei sound sexy?
They all sound sexy.
Of course, it's Game of Thrones. Of course. All right, that's going to do it for another day here on Edmonton Sports Talk. 2 guys and a goalie. Cash, you like the Oilers 7-8-1 tonight?
6-1.
6-1. Oh, wow. Really not believing in them tonight. Interesting. Gager, what about you tonight, buddy?
Ooh,
Hey,
what?
you called the Rangers win, right? That was That was 2 weeks. That was last week on this show.
Well, you know what? I think it's time. It's time. I believe the Oilers 3-2 regulation win.
All right, regulation win. Bet them in regulation over a cool bet, courtesy of the advice from Joaquin Gage. That'll do it for us. For somebody who's asking about the Lock Shop podcast being up soon, I would assume it should be up right away, so watch for that as well. 2 guys and goalie, quickly to follow. We will be back today, 5:30, with the pregame show. Tommy Gazzola and Matt Kassian will be getting you set. And, of course, after the game tonight, when you hop in your car, just throw on TuneIn and listen to the postgame show live or join us on YouTube. The postgame show after a loss is insane. Like the vitriol in the nasty chat after a loss is one of my favorite things about Edmonton Sports Talk.
I was going to ask you for
It's
way more
great,
money,
yeah.
Dusty, when I saw the numbers, but then I realized after a loss, it's the same no matter who's on there.
And people are just there to bitch and complain. All right, that's going to do it for us here. Nielsen Show replay coming up on TuneIn and on our audio stream at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. For Matt Kassian, Joaquin Gage, I am Dustin Nielson. We will talk to you tomorrow morning on the Nielsen Show, bright and early at 6 o'clock. Tell your friends.